Is this where the scrummage is it, today? Okay.
Should we start or you?
Yeah, you guys start.
$1 billion for Māori in this budget, but if you break it down, only $40 million a year for the Māori Health Authority. Is that good enough?
No, it's not, because it's only 0.7% of the health budget going to the Māori Health Authority, 2% going to Māori health across the board. So it's not good enough. $1 billion, we could only find where 500,000 of it was targeted at Māori kaupapa. We want to know where the rest of it is. Is that gone into more general fund or something like that? So, you know, there are some questions around what the $1 billion looks like. 0.6% of the budget. So we've waited 182 years to get to 0.6% of the budget. You know, it's going to take us 1,840 years to get to some kind of equity on current population of the iwi Māori. By then, I think Jesus Christ would have returned.
Do you think Māori have been left with the crumbs of the budget?
We're always left with the crumbs of the budget. We've got the biggest Māori caucus ever in this particular government. Māori are looking to this majority Māori caucus to make some real change, but you can actually see that it was 0.3% last year's budget. We're 0.6%. We're incrementally going up by 0.3% under this particular government every year, and it's not good enough. You know, it's not equality, because it's not making up the 20% of Māori that make up the population. It's not equity, so 25% would mean that there's equity, and it's not Te Tiriti o Waitangi centric, which would mean 50%. But hey. That's the way the cookie crumbles, and we're seeing more. If the system was a vanilla cake, we're seeing more chocolate sprinkles put on it. But at the end of the day, it's still vanilla cake.
What would you have liked to see from the budget?
We would have liked to have seen a fighting chance for our whānau to be able to put kai on their table by taking GST off kai. We would like to have seen tax put on empty houses. There's over 190,000 empty houses here in Aotearoa that should be used for the greater good of our people here in Aotearoa. That is not, and we should have put an empty house tax, transferred the wealth of tax onto the wealthy, capital gains tax, those who earn more than the family home. We wouldn't put capital gains tax on the family home. All of those types of things we would have liked to have seen. We would have liked to have seen them put more investment, not into police, but into preventative programs to reconnect whānau back to their communities. Because investing in police means, you know, it's just ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, continued ambulance at the bottom of the cliff type policies. And so, you know, we want more. If our people make a 50% of the housing, social housing list, we want 50% of the stock. It makes so much sense. But we need to put a stop to putting our people into hotels, and absolutely start to build houses for our whānau that's affordable, clean, healthy homes, where they're able to put kai on the table, where they're able to go and do something during the day, you know, go and do some mahi, and to create a whānau type atmosphere that our people used to live in once upon a time.
The housing minister.
The cost of living package was a big part of today's budget. The $350 payment beneficiaries, people who already received the winter energy payment, aren't eligible for that.
Yeah.
Is there enough for low-income families into that budget?
That's a help, but no, it is not. And so I think that it would have been the icing on the vanilla cake if they had taken GST off kai. 72% of New Zealanders support GST off kai. It doesn't discriminate whether you're rich, poor, black, brown, white. Is that it makes life a lot easier for our whānau out there. And so, you know, all of those things would have made long-term changes, and, you know, changes that would have been beneficial to our whānau. And so that is one, but there's a whole lot more we could have done, and we haven't seen it in this particular budget.
In housing, the housing minister says the kāinga whenua loan cap will jump from 200,000 to 500,000 to provide more options for people buying a home on Māori land. What, if any, difference do you think that will make to Māori and the housing price?
Hey, look, any house being built on Māori land is you know, that's a good start for us. And I know that there has been, you know, in that particular space, there have been homes going up in the Tairāwhiti. We know there's programs going up in Taranaki and in the north, and also in Hauraki. There are some programs being developed there. And so that's good. But like I said, we've waited 182 years. Like Moana Jackson said, our issue is not homelessness, it's houselessness. And so before you can deal with houselessness, Māori have been homeless for 182 years. Let's deal with the homelessness, and then we can start addressing the houselessness. And like I said, it's got to be a total package. If we make up 50% of the total waiting list for social housing, we should get 50% of the stock.
Would you support the cost of living payment?
Oh, absolutely, but it must be an and. We can't just say, well, this is it. This is our answer. It's not strong enough to get those of our whānau who are really, really struggling. And let's just face it, everybody has a right to eat. And so we should have taken that. That should have been a bold move by this government. It would have been supported by 72% of the country, and it would have been something that would have been welcomed by the majority of the people who live in Aotearoa. And so cutting GST would have made it a lot easier to go alongside the other initiatives that they've come out with today.
Just probably already been asked, but just on the Māori Health Authority budget. $42 million a year for the next 4 years. Is that the fair?
Yeah, it's 0.7% of the total health budget going into the Māori Health Authority, and that's not good enough. If we want to close mortality rates for Māori, where we're dying 7 to 10 years earlier than everybody else, we wanted to bring the statistics down to cardiovascular disease, diabetes, where we're overrepresented. We need a hell of a lot more investment than that. And so it would have been better if we stayed under DHBs, because there was just in terms of the funding, not better because DHBs have been failing us for many, many years. But the funding that DHBs had for Māori, if they had just transferred that over to the Māori Health Authority, away from the bureaucracy of DHBs and over to the Māori Health Authority, a more Māori streamlined funding kaupapa, would have been easier, but they haven't. It's actually made it, they've left the money that Māori did have that was dedicated to Māori under the DHB system, given us new money, but it's actually less than what Māori were receiving under the old model. And so it is pathetic, and I think they need to really think about why are they doing this? Is this just to appease Māori, but make no difference? And so, these are some of the hard questions that we'll be asking the ministers and this Māori caucus.
$3.1 billion for Health NZ over the next 2 years, $42 million each year for Māori over the next 4 years. Is this what equity looks like for Māori?
No, it doesn't. And like I said, I use the analogy that if the system was a vanilla cake, what they do is they put chocolate sprinkles on it to make it look good. And at the end of the day, we want a chocolate cake. And we want to decide whether we want to put vanilla sprinkles on our kaupapa. But unfortunately, we've been left with the crumbs of a vanilla cake, and it's not going to make one iota of a difference. But I do appreciate that it's moved into a more streamlined Māori kaupapa like the Māori Health Authority. I get that. But what we needed to do was see more equity. We're only getting 0.6% of the total budget going into Māori kaupapa. It's taken us 182 years to actually get to that. If we worked it out, it'll take us 1,840,000 years to get to some kind of equity on current population. By then, I said, ihu karaiti would have returned.
Is there anything you like from the budget?
You got to ask Labour. Those types of questions are for Labour. Yeah, there's some good things out of there. But like I said, if we're going to make a bigger difference, there needed to be some more, I think, more bold and courageous decisions around tax. I didn't see anything around tax and removing the tax burden off our poor and moving it more into wealth tax.
Do you think it reflects a treaty centre Aotearoa?
Oh, no, we're far from that. But I think a move towards that is a lot clearer in this particular space. But we're a long way off a tiriti centric Aotearoa, and so we'll continue to be pushing our kaupapa to ensure that that is not lost in this political sphere.
Can you tell us what initiatives you do support in the budget?
That'll come in, and let's have a look at the detail of that. Like I said, we've found where 500 million of the $1 billion is, but we need to find out where the other 500 million is to make that type of judgment. So in the small time we've had a look at the budget, it appears that I know we found a few holes there and there, but we need to look at the detail to give you that answer. So ask that question next week. Kia ora tātou.